Hey, people of Zen, Greg with Planet Green Zen. Hope you guys are doing good. So, something just to think about. The thoughts that you have and the opinions that you form, are they really your own? Or were they downloaded into your mind somehow? Again, something to think about. Another thing to think about. When is the last time that you actually used critical thinking? Now, I want you to really think about that. Get it? Critical thinking. So, think about that. Do you even know what that really means? So in today's video, what we're going to talk about is how, are you truly thinking for yourself, or are you on autopilot? So what made me want to actually make this audio blog is because it got me thinking, especially with a lot of the things happening in the world today. This is the year 2020 still, for if you listen to this a few years from now or whatever, but October 2020 to be precise, October 29th, 2020 to be exact. I'm recording it, but it will get released in a few days. But just think about this, guys. Do you actually critically think? Is it even taught in schools anymore? Now, there's a story of this professor. He was actually teaching a college course, and he was a professor for 20 to 30 years, somewhere in that range. But he was literally teaching the students how to use critical thinking, getting them to really challenge your minds. And one student got offended by this and reported him to the dean, and he had to stop teaching that class completely. Now, I want you, again, for my critical thinkers out there, does that seem right to you, or does it seem like there's an agenda going on? Again, when you listen to this a few years from now, maybe it will be discovered, hopefully, and things are good and balanced. But if you listen to this now, while we're still in an uncertain time, what is the true agenda that's happening out there? So a lot of people that don't use critical thinking are quickly and easily manipulated to where they think they're thinking, they think they're the right ones, and they think the people who are critically thinking are wrong, but it's the total opposite. It's that doublespeak that George Orwell talked about in 1984, the book 1984. You can find it for free on YouTube as an audiobook, or even the movie that they made is on YouTube. Now, the quality isn't that good because it's the older movie, black and white, but you can still see it clear enough and get the gist of it. So I highly recommend, if you have not checked that out, just type in a George Orwell 1984 audiobook or George Orwell 1984 movie or something like that, and you should be able to find it. But so guys, many people around the world say the exact same thing when they're referring to certain topics and beliefs. So whether it's dealing with politics, religion, race, or even money. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself, how did these thoughts get into the heads of the people? And is there some type of biased program that's being beamed into people, or what is it being based off of? Is it an extensive research and facts, or is it just repeating what people want to hear and what they've heard someone else say? So really think about that, guys, because there's a saying that says if you repeat a lie enough, people will start to believe that lie. So that's powerful, because again, this whole thing with, if you guys know anything about Operation Mockingbird or MK Ultra, these were government programs and experiments to really see the effects of human control of the mind. And Operation Mockingbird was when the government infiltrated the media, and they're still there to this day. So that should get you to start thinking like, what's the agenda behind all of this? What is the media putting out there that is biased or has some type of agenda to control minds? Because it's crazy how you can see the media, they will put a twist on something or play a clip of something and tell you how they want you to think. It's like, hey, no, don't believe your eyes, believe what we tell you to believe. And then when you watch the real thing or see an actual person, you're like, wow, this is nothing like what the media portrayed. It was dramatic and fearful and getting people to be scared. But why do they use these tactics? What did MK Ultra find out? What did Operation Mockingbird find out? So those, again, are critical thinking questions to ask yourself and try to do some research on. Now, you have, again, sometimes have to take a step back when you're in these situations and really start to ask yourself questions. Now, I know what you're thinking, like, hey, if I ask myself questions, I'm crazy, because that's what people say. Hey, if you talk to yourself, you're crazy. But that's not actually true. A lot of people actually do consult with themselves and confine in themselves and speak to themselves, and they're not crazy. So I want you guys to really think about that, because sometimes when you ask yourself internal questions, it can kind of break that program that was beamed into you. When you ask yourself the right questions, you have patience and grace, then you actually will have answers come to you that you had no idea were even possible. That literally happened to me in March of 2020 of this year. I had totally different way of thinking. And then when I started to just sit down, I literally had to speak to God and ask God, please show me the truth. Just help me out. And I got the truth beamed into me. That's how I can describe it. And then I started to go on a rabbit hole of looking at all this information that was not put out there. It's like, wow, this blew my mind. It's literally like I got unplugged from like a second level of the Matrix or something. So you have to actually raise your vibrational frequency to attract the wisdom you need in order to discern programmed thoughts from your true thinking. And that's what I want you guys to really focus on, is just meditate, ask yourself internal questions, speak to God and ask God for wisdom and clarity. And it will come to you, because that's what I did and that's what happened to me. And because there's so much disinformation out there, so much conflicting and confusing information to where we are so confused. There's partly true over here, but then once they reel you in with the partial truth, they fill it with lies because you're already hooked at that point. Like, well, they showed me this and this true, so why isn't this other part true? So you have to use critical thinking with everything that you get, every piece of information, no matter who gives it to you. You got to be able to do your own research, because a lot of people are really that lazy to where they just turn on social media, like at Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, where these are some of the biggest censoring platforms out there now, to where they're very, very controlling, digital burning of the books. Again, I made a video about that, but you have to use critical thinking, true critical thinking, because people say it, but they don't use it. And they say, hey, people need to use critical thinking, but they are not using it. So when you say that, don't just say it, but actually truly sit down and think about, what does that actually mean? And how can I apply that to my life fully? You have to ask yourself internal questions and do extensive research outside of the main platforms and main social media. You will be amazed what you find out. So that's all that I have for you guys in this video. And as always, I want to leave you with the quote of the day. And I actually heard this quote from my old coworker maybe 5 or so years ago. And he said, and I never forgot it, because we were speaking in the parking lot. I think we were both leaving to go somewhere, 2 separate places. And he gave me this quote, and now it's something I just remembered. And I don't know who said it, so I can't give the reference. But it goes, people who talk tend to repeat what they hear. People who listen tend to learn something. This is Greg with Planet Green Zen signing off. You guys do have a great day. Talk to you soon. Planet Green Zen, inspiring the everyday person to break free from the mundane and take action.